There are places on the map marked with question marks, not by cartographers but by history itself. These are the locations where the world frayed at the edges, where people going about their ordinary lives simply stepped out of existence. One moment, they were there. Laughing, working, dreaming, the next, they were gone. Not a trace, not a note, just a chilling, deafening silence that echoes down the centuries. These aren't just stories, they are voids in our collective history, black holes that have swallowed people whole, leaving behind nothing but questions that haunt us to this day. We're drawn to these stories, compelled to look into the abyss. We like to think our world is known, every corner is mapped, every person accounted for, but these tales remind us of a starker truth. The universe is vast, our understanding is fragile. Sometimes people slip through the cracks, they vanish from locked rooms, they vanish from crowded ships, they vanish from entire settlements. The clues they leave behind are often more baffling than the disappearance itself. The year is 1587. The coast of North Carolina is a wild, untamed frontier. This is where our first mystery begins. A group of more than 100 English settlers, led by Governor John White, arrives to establish a permanent foothold in the New World. They are full of hope, pioneers on the edge of a great unknown continent. They build a settlement on Roanoke Island, a small patch of land buffered by the Outer Banks. They are carving out a life, complete with the first English child born in the Americas, Virginia Dare. This wasn't just an outpost, it was meant to be a new beginning, the foundation of an English empire across the sea. But the New World is a harsh place. Supplies quickly dwindled. The settlers' relationship with the local Socotan and Croatan peoples grew tense. Survival was a daily struggle against starvation, disease, and the constant threat of the unknown wilderness that surrounded them. Governor White knew his people wouldn't last the winter without help. He made a difficult decision. He would sail back to England for reinforcements and supplies, a journey that would take months. He promised a swift return, leaving behind his daughter, his granddaughter Virginia. In August 1590, John White finally returned to Roanoke Island. He arrived on his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. As his ship approached the shore, he expected to see smoke rising from chimneys and to hear a bustling village. Instead, an unsettling quiet met him. An eerie, profound silence had fallen. The island stood intact, the trees stood tall, but the people were gone. The air felt heavy with absence. Hope crumbled with every silent step toward the abandoned fort. His search party moved cautiously through overgrown paths. They found houses dismantled, not burned, but carefully taken down. A palisade of high logs surrounded the area, yet there were no signs of struggle, no skeletons, no graves, no bloodstains. Over 100 men, women, children seemed to have simply walked away, taking all their belongings with them. The only clue, a single word carved into a fort post: Croatoan. The word was tantalizing. Croatoan. A nearby island, Hatteras Island. Croatoan, also the name of a friendly Native American tribe. Could the colonists have moved there? It seemed plausible. Notably, there was no Maltese cross above the word. That suggested they had not left under duress. Perhaps they had integrated with the tribe for safety and sustenance. This was White's last flickering hope. He had to know if his family lived just miles south. The search wasn't over, until the weather turned. Let's jump forward more than 300 years to the cold, windswept coast of Scotland. The year is 1900. Our setting is the remote, uninhabited Flannan Isles. Perched atop Eileen Moor is a newly built lighthouse. It's manned by a rotation of 3 keepers: Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, Donald MacArthur. These were hardy, experienced men, accustomed to isolation and the sea. Their job was simple but vital: keep the light burning, no matter what. On December 15th, a passing steamer, the Arctur, noted something strange in its log. The Flannan Isles light was out. The captain logged it, expecting it to be reported on docking, but the message never reached the Northern Lighthouse Board. For days the light stayed dark. Families ashore began to worry as the relief date passed with no word. Storms lashed the coast. Weather could delay relief, but not explain a dead lamp. These men knew the stakes. They would have done anything to keep it lit. James Duckett, 43, husband and father of 4, Thomas Marshall, 28, second assistant, Donald MacArthur, 40, occasional keeper known as a brawler. Finally, on December 26th, the relief vessel Hesperus arrived. Joseph Moore approached the island. The scene was unnervingly still. No usual signs of life. The flagpole was bare. No one came down the steep landing steps. The provision box on the landing was untouched. Dread crept over Moore as he prepared to ascend the cliff alone. Relief keeper Joseph Moore climbed the winding steps to the lighthouse, his calls echoing unanswered against the rock. He found the main entrance door unlocked. The door to the kitchen was also ajar. Stepping inside, he found a scene of bizarre domestic tranquility. The kitchen table was set for a meal that had never been finished. A single chair was overturned, as if someone had jumped up from their seat in a sudden hurry. The clock on the wall had stopped. A thick layer of dust coated everything. The hearth was cold, the ashes long dead. The men were gone. The search party from the Hesperus spread out to investigate. Inside the lighthouse, they found the keepers' beds unmade. Their foul-weather gear was missing. But one set of oilskins was left behind. This meant one of the men, likely Donald MacArthur, had ventured out into the gale wearing only his regular clothes. Why would an experienced seaman do such a thing? The logbook offered the only narrative of their final days. The log entries recorded by Thomas Marshall were chilling. He described a storm of incredible ferocity, one that had raged for days. He wrote that the principal keeper, James Duckett, had been very quiet. Our final mystery takes to the skies. In 1937, Amelia Earhart was more than just a pilot. She was a global icon, a symbol of courage, adventure, the limitless potential of the modern age. She had already conquered the Atlantic, flying solo coast to coast. Now, she set her sights on the ultimate prize, to circumnavigate the globe. At its widest point, the equator. It was a grueling 29,000-mile journey, a final triumphant chapter in an already legendary career. With her trusted navigator Fred Noonan by her side, she took off in her state-of-the-art Lockheed Electra 10E. The journey was a marathon of island hopping and navigating by the stars. They flew from Miami, South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia. By late June, they had successfully completed over 22,000 miles. Only the vast empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean remained. The next leg was the most dangerous, a 2,556-mile flight from Lae, New Guinea to Howland Island, a tiny, flat speck of land 2 miles long and half a mile wide. Finding it would be like finding a needle in the world's biggest haystack. It was a supreme test of Fred Noonan's navigational skill. On July 2, 1937, Earhart and Noonan took off from Lae. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca was stationed near Howland Island, tasked with guiding them in. The ship's crew would provide weather updates and use their radio equipment to create a homing signal. As the Electra neared the island, Earhart's voice began to crackle through the radio. Her transmissions were sporadic and faint, but she confirmed they were close. "We must be on you, but cannot see you," she reported, her voice laced with growing urgency. "Gas is running low." The crew of the Itasca transmitted frantically, trying to get a lock on her position, but her signals were too brief. They sent up thick black smoke from the ship's funnels, hoping she would spot it. But there was no sign of the silver plane. Earhart's final confirmed transmission was a desperate plea. "We are on the line of position 157-337. We are running north and south," and then, silence. Amelia Earhart, Fred Noonan, and their advanced aircraft vanished from the sky. The world held its breath, waiting for news that would never come. The disappearance of America's sweetheart triggered the largest and most expensive sea and air search in naval history at the time. The U.S. government spent over $4 million, an astronomical sum in 1937, scouring 250,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean. President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself authorized the massive operation. For 16 days, ships crisscrossed the designated search area around Howland Island. Planes crisscrossed the designated search area around Howland Island but found nothing. No oil slick, no floating debris, no wreckage. When we look at these stories together, Roanoke, the Flannan Isles, Amelia Earhart, we see a chilling pattern. Each is a tale of isolation. The Roanoke colonists were separated from their homeland by an entire ocean. The lighthouse keepers were alone on a barren rock, surrounded by a raging sea. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were a tiny metallic speck in the vast empty canvas of the Pacific. In each case, they were on the very edge of the known world, far from the safety of civilization. It is in these lonely places that the rules of our world seem to bend, and sometimes break completely. Another common thread is the abrupt and total nature of the disappearance. There are no witnesses to the final moment. There are no bodies left behind to mourn. The vanishing is absolute. This is what makes these mysteries so uniquely terrifying and captivating. It's not just a death, it's an erasure. The lack of a final resting place leaves a wound that can never heal, a question that can never be definitively answered. It forces us to confront the unnerving possibility that a person can simply cease to be, leaving a void where a life once was. Now, the investigation falls to you. What do you believe happened to the colonists of Roanoke? What fate befell the keepers of the Flannan Isles Light? And where did Amelia Earhart make her final landing? The evidence is before you. The silence is waiting to be filled. The mystery is yours to solve.